In the frigid quiet of Salem's winter nights, the town's homes were dimly lit by flickering hearths. The harshness of the cold and the heavy weight of isolation, mixed with a deep spiritual unease, pressed upon the Puritan community like a leaden sky. The Puritans, with their strict moral code, saw the world in stark contrasts: good and evil, saint and sinner, heaven and hell. In this bleak, unforgiving environment, the wilderness loomed large, both physically and metaphorically. The dark woods surrounding the town symbolized the unknown and the feared places where Satan's influence was believed to hold sway. Reverend Samuel Parris, a stern and unpopular figure, presided over the parish with the kind of authority that bred resentment as much as reverence. It was in his own household that the first signs of hysteria appeared, through the strange and unsettling behavior of his daughter Betty and niece Abigail. The two girls, once silent and obedient, began to scream and contort in ways that defied explanation. Their eyes rolled back in their heads. They claimed to see visions, their bodies twisted into unnatural shapes. The sight of it chilled the blood of anyone who witnessed their fits. Other young girls in the village, Ann Putnam, Mercy Lewis, and Mary Walcott, soon began to display similar symptoms, writhing on the floor, barking like dogs, or freezing in place, their bodies gripped by invisible hands. People whispered in the corners of their homes, fearful that the devil had finally come for them. The air was thick with suspicion, a pungent blend of fear and anticipation, waiting for someone, anyone, to name the cause of this evil. The first accusations came hesitantly. The girls, their faces pale with dread, pointed trembling fingers at three women: Tituba, the enslaved servant from Barbados; Sarah Good, a destitute woman who wandered from house to house begging for food; and Sarah Osborne, a frail widow who had scandalized the village by living with a man outside of wedlock. These three women, marginalized and vulnerable, were easy targets. They were different, outsiders in a society that demanded conformity. When the accusations were made, the townspeople were quick to believe. After all, if the devil were to choose anyone to do his bidding, would it not be those who already existed on the fringes of society? Tituba's confession was the spark that set the inferno ablaze. Under the threat of violence and torture, she wove an elaborate tale that spoke directly to the fears of the Puritans. She claimed that she had seen the devil himself, that he had come to her in the form of a man or a black dog, that he had promised her power in exchange for her soul. In her vivid account, she described a dark figure urging her to sign his book, in which she saw the names of other women in the village: Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and more. Her testimony, though likely coerced, was delivered in a way that fed the community's deepest anxieties. She spoke of flying through the air on broomsticks, of strange animals serving as familiars to the witches, of secret midnight meetings held in the dark woods. It was enough to seal the fates of the accused, and soon the accusations spread beyond the initial circle. Fear turned inward, and Salem became a town where no one could be trusted. The accused were subjected to humiliating tests, such as being forced to recite the Lord's Prayer without error, a nearly impossible task given the pressure and fear they faced. If they stumbled over a word or trembled, it was seen as evidence of guilt. Women were stripped and searched for witches' marks, any blemish or mole that might be interpreted as the devil's brand. In the autumn of 1692, as the leaves turned to shades of orange and red, the frenzy began to subside. Governor William Phips, whose own wife had been accused of witchcraft, stepped in to put an end to the trials. He dissolved the court and prohibited further arrests. The prisoners still awaiting trial were freed, but the damage was irreparable. Families were shattered, reputations ruined, and the soil of Salem was soaked with the blood of its own people. In the years that followed, Salem tried to forget, but the scars remained. The village became a symbol of the dangers of unchecked hysteria and the fragility of human reason. It was a grim lesson that echoed through history, that in times of fear, The line between righteousness and cruelty becomes dangerously thin, and the cost of crossing it can be paid in lives. The ghosts of the Salem witches, though long dead, linger still, a reminder of what happens when fear becomes stronger than truth.